F company is a company which carries out agricultural and woodland management. F company also have a wholly owned subsidiary C company with the boards of the two companies having the same directors. C company runs two businesses. Now the subsidiary is running the two businesses as well. The first business is countryside stores which sell outdoor clothing and accessories. The second is the woodcraft business. This sells furniture and other products made of wood. The wood is sourced from the woodlands managed by the F company. So the subsidiary is taking the woods from the parent company. The wood is made into furniture and other products in craft centers and sold in wood shops, both owned by the Count company. So what is happening? The wood is made into the furniture and other products in the craft centers. Okay. The craft centers are staffed by skilled craftsmen assisted by apprentices. There are some online sales of products sold by the countryside store, but woodcraft products are not currently sold online. This is a one means the disadvantage. And as this business is having the countryside store as well as that the craft centers where the wood and sold in the workshop woodcraft shops. So now the problem is that for this countryside stores, there are some online sales are there, but woodcraft products are not currently sold online. The F company group will have to make significant investment expenditure over the next few years. Profit from the woodcraft business have declined in the recent years. That may be the reasons that's why they want to sell this part of the business. And in the year just ended, the woodcraft business made its first operating loss. And also, F company board believed that without initial investment, there is a significant risk that the woodcraft business will continue to make losses over the next few years. As the board also want F company group to have greater focus on its core activity of agriculture and woodland management, it initially decided to close all woodcraft shops and the craft centers. So this is the concern they want to focus on the need to say that the agriculture and the woodland management which is the main business of the company. However, proposals have faced significant opposition due to the loss of jobs and adverse media coverage. A group of shop employees, backed by a couple of wealthy business angels and a crowdfunding campaign, have offered to buy out the woodcraft business. The consideration offered based on the recent year results and the funding available is 3 million. F company board has asked the group finance director to consider three valuations which relate to the project scenarios and are based on net proceeds from closing all the craft centers and woodcraft shops and selling their assets individually. So this is the first criteria that if you are going to close down, so what will happen? The next criteria is expected free cash flows from the craft centers were kept open. Now the second, free cash flows from the craft center were kept open. The woodcraft shops closed. And the products made in the craft centers were sold in the countryside stores and online. Now, first of all, what is mean by the craft center? There are the many things which are being discussed here. This is the craft scene. The wood is made into the furniture and other products in craft center. Mean the wood is made into furniture and other these furniture and the other wooden products are being made in the craft center. The craft center is the maker of the products and then they are sold in the woodcraft shops. So in the second part, in the first part, they are saying that we are selling the craft center. In the second part, the craft centers and wood shops open. In the second was the craft center just open and the wood shops closed. and the products made in the craft centers were sold now in the country store because the shops were being closed. So the other side was the countryside store. And in the third part, examiner is saying to you expected free cash flows if the craft centers and the wooden shops stayed open and you are going to do the necessary investments in them. The scenario will provide a comparison to offer made by the buyout group. What was the buyout group offer, guys? 3 million. Investing in the craft centers and woodcraft shop is not an option which a company is currently considering. Okay. Now, this is the data that the examiner has provided to you. Financial data close all the craft centers and woodcraft shops and sell their assets individually. So examiner has given you the assets, the total equity and liability. Examiner is saying the net assets of the woodcraft business can be assumed to be 60% of the C company's total net assets. The realizable value of the woodcraft shops and the craft centers can be assumed to be 75% of the woodcraft business net assets, taking into account the cost of the collier. Now, this is the criteria when you are going to close all craft centers and woodcraft shops and sell their assets individually. What is the second criteria? Close the woodcraft shops, keep the centers open, and sell the products made in the craft centers. So this was the second criteria. So these are the assume that there would be an immediate net cash inflow of 800,000, taking account of the asset sales, shop closure cost, and the necessary investment. So this will be the forecasted figures. Assume that additional investment for each year is equal to the depreciation. From year 6 onwards, after tax profits and rich investment would be expected to be the same as in year 5 for the foreseeable future. Cost of capital examiner has given you 12%. And then keep all the craft centers and the woodcraft shops and make the necessary investments in them. So examiner has given you the artist profit, depreciation, additional investments, and from year on for the annual growth rate, free cash flows would be expected to be 3% for the foreseeable future. Cost of capital is the 12%. So this was the requirements of the question. Just see now, what is the requirement of the question, guys? Examiner is asking you the 9 marks. Calculate the valuation of the woodcraft business in the 3 projected scenarios, which has been given. In the B part, based on part A, discuss the possible courses of action of F company board could take regarding the woodcraft business. Discuss the other possible sources of action the F company board may consider and recommend what the course of action should be. Now, have you opened the question, Ms. Usma?
Yes, sir.
What the examiner told you that when you are going to sell the individual of the assets, what will happen? What the examiner told. Examiner told you people the net asset of the woodcraft business can be assumed to be 60% of the Count Wood's total net assets. Okay. The realizable value of the woodcraft shops can be assumed to be 75% of the woodcraft business net assets. So guys, see what is going to happen. What is the 7570? Miss, can you tell me?
Total assets, sir. Total assets minus current total liabilities.
Total
Current
assets
liabilities.
minus current liabilities. This is equal to the net assets. Okay. So 7570 minus 970. You will be taking 75%, 65%. So this is the value. 2970 when you are selling the assets individually. Yes, we have applied the criteria suggested by the examiner. Now in the second part, when the examiner was saying to you that when only the wood craft shops will be closed and the craft centers open and sell the products made in the craft center in the countrysides and online. So this was immediate cash flows. An examiner has given you this after tax cash flows, the additional investments have been given to you, and then examiner said to you from year 6 onwards, what will be happen? After tax profit, additional investment will be expected to be the same as that for the year 5. So what is the problem? See, this is after tax profits of the free cash flows that has been given to you. 470, 494, this data has been given to you. 470 up to 558, 470 up to 558. The discount factor has been given to you 12%. These are the discounted cash flows you can compute. This was the present value from year 5, 1 to 5. Now examiner told you from year 6 onwards. So now, which formula we are applying, guys? This formula is known as the terminal value. Which value? What is the terminal value formula? Previous year cash flows. This is the previous year cash flows. Okay. And these cash flows are growing or not? See, these cash flows are not growing. It will be the same. So previous year cash flows divided by cost of capital. See, this is the cost of cash flows, 558 divided by cost of capital and further multiplied with the previous year discount factor. What is the previous year discount factor? Like in the first question which we did today, we applied the delayed annuity. This is the delayed perpetuity. Here the delayed perpetuity is starting from year 6 onwards. Okay. So now this is one value of year to 5. This is the second value. So this is the total value of the product. Understand both of you, Uzma?
Yes, sir.
Now in the second, we solve the third one. In the third one, examiner told you again the after tax profit, the depreciation, and additional investments. And from year on first, the growth is there 3%. Now what is going to happen? 380, 420, 440 given. See, 380, 420. This is only the application of the free cash flows to the firm. What was the formula? The profits, it is already after tax. Add depreciation, less capex. So these are the free cash flow. The discount factor has been given to you as 12%. These are your discounted cash flows. But these are for year 1 to 3. Now again the terminal value is applying from year. But now in this there is a growth. So what is the formula? Cash flows of the previous year. Cash flows into 1 plus G divided by cost of capital minus G. So this is the formula. What is the cash flows? 430. This is the growth. Cost of capital minus growth. And again multiply with the discount factor of last year. This is the discount factor of the last year. 712. So this is the value. This is total valuation 816. This was 3504. This was. And what is this minus 600,000? Can you tell me that?
Initial investment.
Yes, this was the initial investment required. Okay, now this is the total valuation of the company. So I am of the opinion the computation part of this was very easy. What do you say, guys? It was easy.
Yes, sir.
Only the discussion part was important. Now, when you are selling as individual asset, what will happen? The value achieved by selling off all the assets on individual basis should be regarded as a floor value. Floor value means the minimum value. This figure for the realizable value of the assets may be uncertain, possibly being more or less than the forecast, because this sale data has been given to you in the forecasted form, but when the actual figures would be there, that will maybe deviate. This option does have the advantage of bringing in a quick cash receipt when you are selling the assets, which can help to fund the investments expenditure which F company has to make. If F company is adopting a strategy for focusing on core activities, the sale makes its situation simpler and frees up management time, which would have been required for the woodcraft business. Because what we are selling, what we are selling, guys, here,
Wood crafts.
no,
Shopping accessories.
close all craft center and woodcraft shops. We are selling all of them. Close all craft centers and woodcraft shops. So examiner is saying when you are selling, the sale makes situation simpler and frees up management time, which would have been required for the woodcraft. Mean previously that time was required. Now that time will be free. However, if woodcraft business could become more profitable again, selling it off in this way represents a loss of potential future income. The realizable value of the asset is also lower than the value of other strategies being considered, meaning it is questionable whether it is the best option for F company. This option is likely to have the biggest reputation risk as well. As shown already, the adverse media coverage is there. So guys, what the examiner is saying, if you are just closing your woodcraft business, your craft centers, you will be getting a cash. But what will happen? The cash will be used in your investment expenditures, but this is only you are thinking for a short term. If in the future years this business would be profitable, then you have already lost it that opportunity. You have sold that business. Okay, and when you are closing down your one business, this is also having a negative impact. This is a bad reputation. Okay, and this bad reputation or the adverse media coverage, remember, this falls in getting your marks of the commercial acumen. Now you are saying close woodcraft shops and keep the craft centers open, because we said whatever was there in the craft centers, we can now sell it via the online with our other channel, with our other business. The policy again offer a smaller quick cash receipt than the sale of individual assets. Although again the amount would be dependent upon the realizable value of the asset sold. Long term, however, this option appears to offer the highest value for the app company. We have seen in the calculations. The future profits figures will, however, be subject to some uncertainties. It is questionable how well the products would sell in other locations. There is no information about how successful online selling has been for the countryside stores and products, and the products being sold are much bulkier, about how suggesting the need for the investments in vehicles and high distribution costs. Now, see what is happening now. Try to understand very carefully. This was our suggestion. We are saying this will have to make a significant investment expenditure over the next few years, due to which we are in the need of the cash. But the problem was profits from the woodcraft business was declining. That's why we want to lose that. We want to close them. And this woodcraft are being made in the craft centers. That's why we also, in one suggestion, we are also closing the craft center as well. And we said that in the next part, we will close the shops, but the craft centers will open, and whatever the products will be there, that will be sold now with the other business, which was this one, countryside stores. And the countryside stores are already doing some online business as well. But by their online business, they are selling the clothing and the accessories. Now, when you are saying that these countryside stores will also having the material from your craft center as well. The craft centers are making the wooden things. The wooden things are bulky. For the bulking things, maybe the countryside stores have to buy some heavy lorries, some heavy vehicle. This again need investment. Understand? Understand
Yeah,
what the
sure.
examiner is saying? The examiner is saying there is no information about how successful online selling has been for the countryside stores and the products. And the products being sold are much bulkier, suggesting the need for investments in vehicle and higher distribution costs. The valuation is dependent upon the assumption that the business carries on in perpetuity, which may be unrealistic. There is no justification given the cost of capital. This option would keep the craft centers open, mitigating the reputation risk. The board would have to consider the more complicated logistic for trading the wood products in the ways proposed. Additional storage facilities may be required, given the woodcraft shops would no longer be available to store the items because we are closing them. There is also a logistical problem of countryside stores having to accommodate much larger items such as furniture, limiting the products which can be displayed. So, guys, see how the examiner has related the things. This is nothing. This is just the logics. This is just the journal question. Like the previously, one business which is having a lower space, the one business which is having not a heavy vehicles. Now, when you are merging another business which is having the heavy products, so how the already business which is having online presence that will work? There will be a lot of problem. Actually, your reputation risk will be removed because you are not closing your craft centers. But still, there are the other problems arise. You have to purchase the lorries, you have to purchase some godowns. How you will be delivering the logistic problems would be there. Now, what was the last part of this? The last part of this was that we will be investing the required funds. The sale at the price offered against is a quick cash receipt. The price offered of 3 million is not far above the forecast income from selling the assets of the business individually, which should be regarded as the lowest acceptable price, because you know that the I told you in the first paragraph, when you are selling your assets individually, this is giving you the lowest or the floor value. And the price offered by you people, see what was the price? The consideration offered based on recent year results and the funding available is 3 million. And who have done so? A wealthy business angel organization and a crowdfunding campaign have offered to buy the woodcraft business. So they have given you the 2 million, and the minimum value which we are having from the sale of the individual assets, that was how much? 263. No, sorry, this was the scenario 2. Oh, sorry, 2970. This was 2970, and they are giving you the 3. It is just means that not you can say the very over and above value. It is possible that the individual asset could sell for more than expected, and the total receipt might be higher than the current offer from the buyout deal. However, it appears to be certain that F company would receive the 3 million if it accepts the buyout group offers, whereas it may not achieve the 3 million if assets were sold individually. Why, guys? Because when the price was in the first means the comment, it was coming almost 2.9. That is dependent upon the forecasted figures. Your forecasted data may vary. That is not an accurate data. But when there's a group offering you that is a certain thing for you, definitely you should prefer that. The calculation for carrying on the business and investing gives an indication of the potential of the woodcraft business if required investment is made in it, and it is 24% higher than the offer made by the buyout group. Now, the calculation for carrying on the business and investing gives an indication of the potential of the workfoot business if the required investment is made in it. So see how much in, that is if we are doing the investment. The total valuation is giving you the 3720. This value is 3720, and they are offering you how much? They are offering you 3000. And this business, if you are investing in, how much is the value? 3720. So can you tell me how much the difference is there? Ikra, oh sorry, Miss Uzma, tell me. 3720 minus 3000 divided by 3000 multiplied by 100. How much?
24.
24%.
Yes.
So this is the 24% calculation which the examiner has performed. Examiner is telling you people that the calculation of carrying on the business means you have put on the funds. So that value was 24% higher than that the offer made by the group. However, the same comments as above apply to carrying on the value to perpetuity using a cost of capital which has not been justified. The valuation suggested by the calculation may well not be acceptable to the purchaser. Their plans of the business may be based on different and less optimistic assumptions, indicating their lower value of 3 million is realistic. If the forecast cash flows are realistic, that would suggest that the woodcraft business still could have significant long-term value for African company even if significant immediate expenditure is needed. Selling the woodcraft business as a whole will also not involve a company having to take actions about shutting shops and craft centers, avoiding the risk to its reputation. So the woodcraft business as a whole would also not involve a company having to take decision about shutting shop. I mean, if you are selling your whole division, so the other options, what would be there? The decision is best to own the woodcraft business, making a loss in a single year after a number of years of profitability. It appears that the decision to close or sell the business may be premature. Given that it is forecast to make profit with future investment, there may be possibility that it could make profits even without these investments in the coming year. Although there has been a decline in the profits prior to making a loss, F company board should certainly consider the possibility of letting the woodcraft business operate for at least another year. It is questionable whether that would be a risky strategy than any of the other proposed. So the board should also consider the partial implementation of some of the options started. The valuation calculation indicates that keeping the craft centers and the shops open and investing them has a significantly lower value than just keeping the craft centers open. However, the board could also consider just shutting the worst performing shops. You do not close all the ones just worst performing. If the most profitable shops were kept open, investment was made in them, as well as making a positive contribution. They could also act as a showcase for the products and a collection hub for the online sales as well. So guys, I will highly recommend you. This was the best, I mean to say that the explanations which have been done by the examiner. So please go through this again, and I hope that this question is giving you a very positive sense that how the examiner can test you people in the case of the theoretical questions. What do you say?